All right, hey, I was watching this interesting video on this Gabby, how she's missing and her boyfriend's missing now, and how he's not talking to the police. And a lot of people will think, he had nothing to do with this. Let's kind of take a look at some of the information that's available. First of all, the last time that she spoke with her family was on August 25th, according to this ABC New York video. Let's listen to this key section of this video real quick. I don't know if you can hear it.
The family says August 25th. They FaceTimed, and Gabby said they were on their way through Grand Teton and was traveling to Yellowstone. A few days later, she received some text messages from Gabby's phone number. She wasn't convinced they were from her. We now know it's because the text said very briefly, "No service in Yosemite," which was another national park more than 800 miles away from Yellowstone, which is where she...
Okay, so they said there's no service in Yosemite. I mean, she could have misspoke and said that, whatever. So they were heading to, because Yosemite's a long ways from Yellowstone Park. So anyway, let's just assume that they misspoke, whoever it was who texted. And so, as far as I know, he did not go and file a missing persons report in Wyoming. My question is, if you had nothing to do with it, anybody would file a missing persons report. I mean, I want you to think about this for a second. If your spouse or your girlfriend, who's supposed to be the love of your life or whatever, was missing in Wyoming, would you leave Wyoming? I think common sense tells you, and people are commenting that, oh no, there's innocent, there's the courts are putting people in jail, that are innocent. I just want you to think about this for a second. Put yourself in the same situation. If it was your girlfriend and they're missing in Wyoming, would you drive whatever 2,000 miles to Florida and be there by the 1st or whatever, and not report her missing and not call her parents and not call your family and tell them that they're missing? The first thing you do is go to a lawyer and lawyer up and say, hey, how do I protect myself because these cops are going to be vicious and all this stuff? Come on. I mean, listen. Now the guy's missing. Maybe he feels guilty. Maybe he took off. Maybe he's killed himself. We don't know. Nobody knows anything. But what does common sense tell you guys? To me, common sense tells me very much the guy had something to do with it. Did he do it intentionally? We don't know. Did he do it by accident? We don't know. We know that, in the case where they were pulled over on the side of the road, that, the cops were thinking she was the aggressor. It's possible. I mean, think about it for a second. You're on the road with somebody for months at a time. You're living in a van. It's a very small quarters. There's no place to get away from the other person. It's really, van life sometimes, doesn't work out. It can be really hard to be with somebody 24/7 and be happy all the time and not have an argument and not have a place that you need to get away from them. And when you have to come back to this little tiny van all the time, it can be difficult. Okay, so, I'm not going to assume that the guy's a bad guy because something happened. Who knows what happened? Maybe he was somewhere and they were hiking and she aggressed and he pushed her and she fell. I'm just assuming this stuff, but I'm just saying something like that possibly could have happened, but he's not saying anything. Listen, you know what? To me, if he loved her, he had to be a man and stand up and say, okay, you know what? This is what happened. I did this, I'll pay the price for it and deal with it. I think a lot of people can understand that possibly that could happen. But for people to think that he didn't have anything to do with it, I just want you to put that together again. Let's back up for a second. On the 25th is the last time the family heard from her. And then there was a text that came through, said there's no service in whatever park that is. Most of those parks have excellent phone service, by the way. So it's highly unlikely that that was her that texted. Okay, it's very odd. The other thing is I want you to think about, why would you flee the scene and go all the way across the country to see your family if you had nothing to do with it? And why not stay there and call the police and say, hey, she's missing. She had no, common sense, people. Common sense tells you a good chance he had something to do with it. Was it intentional? We don't know. Was it, we don't know that stuff. Was it an accident? We don't know. Was it, anything, we don't know. But common sense tells me, he had something to do with it. Anyway, I'd like to see your comments on it. See what you guys think. Chance for you guys to get your true feelings out there. And people that think that our system doesn't work and we have so many innocent people in jail, you're wrong. Sorry. There's a lot of very guilty people in jail. There might be, a couple of people that are innocently in jail, and it happens sometimes. Very, very few of them are innocent. In fact, if you go talk to the prisoners, all of them will say they're innocent. Every single one of them. Interview some prisoners, and they're never going to admit their guilt. There's very few that are man enough or woman enough to admit their guilt. Usually they're just, trying to get away. They're like snakes. They're just trying to slither away. And the legal system, in fact, doesn't usually catch the people because you have to have so much evidence to even bring it to the court, for the court to even put someone in prison or temporarily until they have their case heard before a jury. There's so many. You have to so much evidence. I mean, I've gotten things in my car. They have them stolen. Like I had a stereo. My stereo was stolen out of my car. They had a fingerprint from the guy on the door handle on the outside of the car. DA wouldn't prosecute. They wouldn't even prosecute him because she goes, if it was on the inside of the car, then I can prove they were in there. But if it's on the door handle, on the button on the door handle, like this, his thumbprint, and he had a prior record, and I'm sure it was the guy they're asking to call me up, hey, do you know this guy? And all this stuff. No. And, they don't prosecute unless they have enough evidence. So they have, the people that are in jail generally have, and I'm not going to say all of them, there's probably a few. People think it's all racially profiled and all that stuff. There might be some issues in some states of that stuff. But usually when they have someone in jail, they've got enough evidence to actually bring it to court, prosecute, and convict. So people that think, our legal system doesn't work, sorry, it does. It works better than most other countries. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. I'd like to see your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe.